Coverage presents Speed World. Back at Phoenix International Raceway, ESPN Speed World, and here now is the starting lineup for today's Checker 500, the first time ever for the Winston Cup cars here at Phoenix. Pole sitter is Jeff Bodine at 123.203 miles an hour, his third pole position of the year. Outside of row number 1, it's Rusty Wallace in the Kodiak Pontiac car number 27. The second row is Harry Gant in car number 33 and Ricky Rudd in number 26. Row number 3, the number 89 car driven by Jim Sauter, and then Bill Elliott in number 9. The fourth row, Mark Martin in car number 6, along with Neil Bonnet in 75. In row number 5, it is Sterling Marlin in car number 44 and Rick Wilson in number 4. Then Michael Waltrip and Lake Speed in the sixth row. And as we take a look at the rest of the starting lineup, you will notice that interspersed through the starting lineup are a few of those that compete regularly in the Winston West Series. They have also joined their Winston Cup counterparts in this event this afternoon.
And Bob, this is a very unique racetrack. There are two other 1 mile tracks on the Winston Cup circuit. Both are very high bank racetracks. These turns are relatively flat, and the dog leg on the back. It's a D-shaped racetrack, and certainly one that'll give them plenty of challenge here this afternoon.
There are a total of 43 starters in this race, with Bill Schmidt in car number 03 bringing up the tail. As you can see, the cars are now going down the front stretch on their last warm-up lap. Next time around, we'll be getting the green flag and the start of the Checker 500. The Phoenix International Raceway is a 1 mile oval. The pole time was 29.220 seconds at a speed of 123.203. We'll go 312 laps, and we should have about 90 to 95 laps before the cars will have to come in for a fuel stop. It is a 500-kilometer race, not a 500-mile race, so 312 laps. And our in-car camera will be carried by Dale Jarrett, the Hardee's race cam. Cars now are down the backstretch. This is not a true oval. There is instead a dog leg in the middle of the backstretch, creating sort of a D-shaped oval. They are now through turn number 3 as the pace car is leading the field at this time. But we're just about to go green and start this Checker 500. Look at the hill over there just outside of turn number 4. There usually are a few hundred people on that hill watching a race. Today there are thousands there, and the grandstands are packed. We are set to go for an afternoon of exciting racing in Phoenix, Arizona. Here comes Jeff Bodine and the others down for a start. Rusty Wallace on the outside of the front row. The green flag waves, and here we go.
Well, Rusty Wallace would certainly like to lead this first lap if at all possible. That would give him 5 bonus points in Winston Cup competition, but Jeff Bodine has taken the lead now. Right now, going out of turn number 2, it is Jeff Bodine that leads Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd through the dog leg. Now they go high on the racetrack and dive into turn number 3. Now Wallace begins to move in on Jeff Bodine. Would like very much to lead lap number 1. He'll try to go inside of Bodine. Coming up 4. Bodine a little bit sideways, side-by-side action here. It's going to be Bodine leading. Ricky Rudd goes to the inside of Rusty Wallace and tries to capture second position, but cannot do it. And then in the opening lap, we've seen some bumping and banging going on out there.
It looked like almost a repeat of North Wilkesboro a few weeks ago as they got together. They're banging around, and I expect we'll see a good bit of that here this afternoon.
Well, as you indicated, Rusty wants to lead, so to make sure that he gets those 5 extra points, he needs all that he can in order to win that Winston Cup. He is second in points going into this race. Rusty Wallace right on the back bumper of Jeff Bodine. Now Rusty will look inside as the cars come out of turn number 2 once again and go down the backstretch. Side-by-side racing. It's Wallace to the inside at car number 27 and Jeff Bodine, the pole sitter, outside in number 5. And Rusty is going to take the lead from Bodine, at least momentarily. Here comes Bodine back, however, on the outside. But look at the number 26 car driven by Ricky Rudd. It's also involved in the contest, and Bill Elliott is not too far behind in car number 9. So Rusty Wallace does have those 5 bonus points. He gets credit for leading lap number 3.
Well, unless Bill Elliott leads a lap, that now cuts the margin to 74. He went into the race with the 79 point deficit, now down to 74.
Rusty Wallace, Jeff Bodine, Ricky Rudd, and Bill Elliott are your first 4. Running back in 5th position is Harry Gant, and those 5 are right together on the racetrack. We have a car slowing down on the racetrack. That's Davey Allison, the number 28 Haviland Ford. He is very slow through corners number 3 and 4. And he's going to stay out there on the racetrack, but something has obviously happened to that car that caused it to slow. So Davey Allison has a problem, and he has dropped back to almost the tail of the field now, trying to struggle with that car. Meanwhile, we go back up front and see what is going on up there. Rusty Wallace still has the lead. Bodine comes out of the fourth corner very high. Ricky Rudd is still running in third position. Bill Elliott is fourth. Fifth is Harry Gant. Back in sixth position is Jim Sauter. In seventh is Neil Bonnet. Eighth is Mark Martin. Ninth is Mike Alexander. And in 10th position is Sterling Marlin with 5 laps out of 312 completed. You can see that the first 5 cars have separated themselves a little bit from the rest of the field, as back in sixth spot is Sauter. Off the fourth corner once again, it is Rusty Wallace leading in the number 27 Kodiak Pontiac, and the Chevrolet number 5 driven by Jeff Bodine hanging in there in second. There are the first 5 once again. We welcome you, those of you who have been watching tennis. We are at Phoenix International Raceway. The Checker 500 Winston Cup race from Phoenix International Raceway. We are here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Phoenix International Raceway hosting the Winston Cup Series for the first time ever. The race has just begun. We are 7 laps into it, and at the moment it is Rusty Wallace who has the lead over the pole sitter of this race, who is Jeff Bodine. He is running in second. Third position belongs to Ricky Rudd. It's a 312 lap race, 500 kilometers on this 1-mile track. Contest for second position is between Jeff Bodine in car number 5 and Ricky Rudd in number 26. And let's go down to the pit area and get a report from Dr. Jerry Punch on what the problem might be with Davey Allison's car. He slowed dramatically just the last few laps.
Brewer team manager Robert Yates and Robert Davey have been slowing. What's the problem with the car? Well, for a minute there, failed to hook up both tires, like he thought he'd broken an axle. Evidently, the springs in the ratchet failed to work, and that had him just spinning one wheel there for a little bit. It seemed to be all right now. See how it goes.
Possibly a rear end problem or early ratchet problem trouble for Davey Allison.
So Davey Allison is going to be struggling to get back up toward the front of the field. There he goes inside of the number 75 car, driven by Roy Smith from Seattle, Washington, who has already clinched the Winston West Championship for 1988. And that's Dave Marcus in car number 71, just ahead of Davey Allison. So Allison struggling here in the early going. Look at the interval that Rusty Wallace has opened up over second place Jeff Bodine. And Jeff has his hands full now with Ricky Rudd in car number 26 as Rudd challenges for second spot.
Well, Bob, a couple of drivers who had never been here before, Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd, have adapted very quickly to this relatively flat 1-mile track at Phoenix. Jeff Bodine, of course, came out here last week and did some testing, and he said that helped him to sit on the pole, but right now he does have his hands full with Ricky Rudd.
Let's watch Rudd's tactic here as they go through the dogleg on the backstretch. Not making a challenge for that second position at the moment, but it is a very tight contest for the runner-up position as Rusty Wallace has the lead. Now we'll watch Rudd stick his nose to the inside of Jeff Bodine as the cars come down the straightaway. Of course, Rudd driving the Buick and Jeff Bodine in the Chevrolet as the Pontiac of Rusty Wallace has about a 12 or 15 car length lead at this moment.
Well, Rudd took advantage of a little bit of a slip of Jeff Bodine. Bodine went a little bit high. That's all Rudd needed to stick the nose of his Buick down on the inside, and he's going to take over second position.
So now Ricky Rudd has second spot, dropping our pole sitter Jeff Bodine back to third position. Still running in fourth position is the Bill Elliott car, and Harry Gant is in fifth. We'll be back with more of our live coverage of the Checker 500 from Phoenix International Raceway. Welcome everyone to Phoenix International Raceway. ESPN Speed World today is live for the Checker 500 Winston Cup race, and here are the top positions now with 18 out of 312 laps completed. It's Rusty Wallace in the lead. Ricky Rudd is second, third is Jeff Bodine, fourth is Bill Elliott, and fifth is Harry Gant. Sixth position belongs to Mark Martin, then Jim Sauter, Neil Bonnet, Sterling Marlin, and Lake Speed. We are under our first caution period of the afternoon. It was caused when Brett Bodine blew an engine and did dump some fluid on the racetrack, so they have been cleaning it up. Brett Bodine is out of the race. To summarize what's happened so far, the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine led the first 2 laps. Then Rusty Wallace passed and has been leading since that time. Everyone is still on the lead lap with the exception of Brad Knopfsinger, who pitted too early when the yellow flag came out. So here comes now the field off of corner number 4. You can see the tremendous crowd that has turned out for this first ever Winston Cup race at PIR. On lap number 19, the green flag comes back out. We are racing once again, and the field comes down the front straightaway, jockeying for positions.
And these turns are relatively flat, Bob. It really gives the drivers a challenge as they go into the turn. There's a dog leg on the backstretch as we see Rusty Wallace maneuver through that part of the racetrack. Ricky Rudd, now that he's moved into second, wants to put a challenge on Rusty.
We have seen throughout the first 16, 17 laps of this race, the first 5 sort of separating themselves from the rest of the field as Harry Gant, running back there in 5th position, is able to stay up with the 4 ahead of him. Now Dale Earnhardt is trying to move up through the field. He started this race back in the 13th position and now tries to gain a position over the number 75 car of Neil Bonnet. Let's go down to the pit area and Jerry Punch.
Well, Bob, that documents some of the drivers who've had trouble early on here at the Checker 500. We mentioned Brett Bodine has already retired the Crisco Ford with an engine problem. That first caution flag, a lot of oil came out beneath the Butmore Ford, and they have taken that car back to the garage area. Also having trouble, young Davey Allison has had the Hapland Ford on pit road. They think they may have a ratchet problem in the rear end of the car. Both wheels in the rear of that car are not pulling. And the third driver to have problems, but it really was a break for him, was Alan Kolicki. He had a flat right front tire. The tire went flat just as the yellow flag came out. He came down pit road and changed it, and it's back at the rear of the field.
All right, we're watching the first 2 now. Rusty Wallace in car number 27 and Ricky Rudd in number 26. And that's something that we will discuss here in the early going, the tire situation. And now there were actually 6 cars that began this race on Hoosier tires. Everybody else on Goodyear. The Hoosier drivers were Ken Schrader, Roy Smith, Johnny Rutherford, Greg Sachs, Trevor Boyes, and Ken Bouchard. But now bear in mind we're racing in the desert, and that is sand there on the inside of the track. And when you kick up a little bit on the track net, I would think that perhaps we might see some tire problems as the race goes along.
Could very well. In fact, these tires don't have a great deal of rubber on them. A lot of the drivers were concerned about the amount of rubber they have on them. Of course, the less amount of rubber you have, the less heat buildup you have. But if you run over something, it's much easier to cut. And if the wind should get up and blow some of that desert dust out there, that could do it. Here we got a spin down in turn 1.
Car sideways in turn number 1. Another car spins behind, so 2 are involved in this. We'll try to get the numbers for you just as quickly as possible. One car is to the inside of the track, and the other one is in the middle of the racetrack. I believe that both of them are going to be able to keep going. Derry Cope is one of them involved in the number 68 car. And Jimmy Means, I believe, was the other one that got sideways and spun to the inside of the racetrack. Both are under their own power right now. The second caution period of the afternoon is upon us as the race to the caution is on, and Bill Elliott is in the pits. Let's go there.
It's a 4-tire change for Elliott, Bob. He's come in. He's about the only one here on pit road, although many of the crews are ready to service their teams. Elliott's the lone one of the front runners that's chosen this opportunity to come in. They've already got the right side change, left side change. He's gone. He'll pick up the back of the pack.
And boy, being in the back of the pack on a track like this is difficult to pass on. Really gives him a lot of work to do.
Here's a replay of what happened that has caused our second caution of the day. That's Derry Cope, who is spinning there in the middle of the racetrack.
Derrick's car had been a little bit loose. He spins to the outside of the track. You can see the oncoming traffic. Michael Waltrip in the yellow car number 30 gets down on the inside, and then
Jimmy Means in car number 52 comes in and spins around. Both drivers have brought their cars back around since then. So on lap number 24, we are under caution for the second time this afternoon. We're in the desert southwest of Phoenix, Arizona for the Checker 500.